Welcome to today's session. In this session, we are going to talk about a fungus which is named Candida auris. Recently, this has been setting alarm bells all over the world. It has been affecting people from different parts of the world. It is showing up in countries as far apart as Australia and Canada, Venezuela and Japan. Candida auris is an emerging fungus, and these days it has been presenting a serious global health threat. Patients can remain colonized with Candida auris for a very long time and can go undetected. This fungus can persist on surfaces in healthcare environments. For example, it can persist on different surfaces in the laboratories, the diagnostic laboratories and hospitals and dispensaries. And this can result in spread of the fungus between patients in healthcare facilities. So let's learn some more about this fungus in today's video. Let's get started. So why is this fungus a cause of concern? Because this fungus is difficult to identify, and especially with the standard lab methods, it may have had a role to play in the development of its resistance. So this inability to identify this fungus would have played a role in the development of the resistance of this fungus, and the healthcare personnel, oblivious to it for very long, continue to prescribe antibiotics which are useless in this case, giving the organism time to acclimatize. So the antibiotics which don't act on this fungus, if they are given to the patient, then the organism inside the patient is actually getting used to this antibiotic. It is actually becoming resistant. This fungus is also known to cause outbreaks in hospitals where it finds vulnerable individuals. So what are the signs and symptoms of this fungal infection? See, the symptoms may not be noticeable because the patients infected with this fungus are often patients. They are already in the hospital with another serious illness or a condition. So that's why, if you remember in the last slide, I said it will find vulnerable individuals. So these patients are the vulnerable individuals. Symptoms can vary greatly depending on the part of the body affected and can cause different types of infection such as bloodstream infection, wound infection, ear infection, etc. Doctors say symptoms can include fever, body aches and fatigue. How does Candida auris spread? See, basically Candida auris can spread in hospitals. Targeted people with weakened immune systems are generally the targets of this infection. It can spread from one patient to another in healthcare settings through contact with contaminated environmental surfaces or equipment. Healthy people usually don't get infected with this fungus, but more research is required to further understand how it spreads. How fatal can this infection be? See, nearly half of the patients die within 90 days of being diagnosed with this fungus. In most cases, patients who have died with Candida auris had other serious conditions that actually aggravated or increased their risk of death. Is this infection treatable? See, the auris infection often goes unnoticed, and its resistance to drugs makes it even more difficult to treat. Moreover, it is difficult to identify with standard laboratory tests, increasing the risk of mismanagement or misidentification if not diagnosed properly. As per a research, more than 90% of the C. auris infections are resistant to at least one drug, and 30% are resistant to 2 or more antibiotics. And other prominent strains of the fungus Candida have not developed significant resistance to drugs. Finding a cure for the infection is now a matter of urgency. See, for now, we know certain things about this fungal infection, and there is lot of scope for research. So with the kind of information which is available to us, let's look at some preventive and control measures for this fungal infection. Patients should be placed in single rooms using standard and contact precautions. More emphasis should be there on increasing hand hygiene, cleaning and disinfecting patient care environment and reusable equipment with recommended products. Inter-facility communication about patient's C. auris status. See, this is very important. There is no communication between our healthcare facilities, which is required in case of this kind of infection. When a patient is being transferred to another healthcare facility, they should be informed about any condition of the patient, and conducting surveillance for new cases to detect ongoing transmission, and the patient should be screened to identify C. auris. And finally, why is multi-drug resistance a problem? See, the increase in resistant organisms is because of overuse of antimicrobial drugs, and this overuse doesn't just happen in healthcare, it also happens because of agriculture. As more and more microorganisms evolve ways to survive commonly used drugs, treating infections will become more and more difficult, and this increases the risks associated with hospitalization and surgeries. So with this, we have come to the end of today's session. Here we have mentioned a few model questions. Please answer them. Hope you like this video. See you in the next video. Thank you.